We have an absolutely insane prospect update for the New York Islanders from the Bridgeport Islanders as forward Adam Beckman has been suspended for 10 games for physical abuse of an official. We're going to break down what happens on this episode of Islanders Digest and also talk about some of the other Islanders prospects in Bridgeport because there definitely is a lot to talk about, especially with Bridgeport having such a terrible season. But before we get to that, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Be one of our first 100 subscribers. If you're an Islander fan and you want more Islanders content just like this is the channel for you. So be sure to subscribe. When I first saw this news that Adam Beckman had been suspended for 10 games for physical abuse of an official, I did not know what to think. This is absolutely a crazy update. After the Islanders traded Adam Beckman, got Adam Beckman in exchange for Dennis Cholonsky, I still think that was a good trade. Has been a relative bright spot in Bridgeport for what has been an absolutely brutal year. And we'll get into that a bit later, but did not know what to think, and at first you just could not find any video of what happened. All you got was the AHL announcement that he had been suspended for 10 games. If you do want to see the clip, it is now up. Stefan Roser has reposted it, so definitely check that out. And if you want any Islanders updates, Stefan Roser is absolutely great. We always use his tweets on this channel. He's just so reliable. And after watching that clip, I will say this looks bad. It does not look good, especially when you first watch it. He makes content kind of cross-checking the ref on going into the zone, and the ref goes absolutely flying, slamming into the boards. It was a really hard impact. After watching it a few more times, I will say that Adam Beckman really checked on the ref like right away after. It doesn't seem like it was his intent to send the ref flying, and honestly, there was a play coming forward, like a 2-on-1 type situation, and the ref was kind of in front of him. I don't think he kind of fully saw him in front of him, kind of braced for impact, and then kind of realized what was happening. And the ref was just not in position to take any contact, kind of standing on the side, so he definitely lost his balance, went flying into the boards. Was no penalty called on the play. Definitely do understand why this is a 10-game suspension, though. It looks really bad, and while I don't think Adam Beckman intended to do this, and if you look at his career as a professional, he's the type of guy who really doesn't take a lot of penalties, so he really doesn't have that malicious nature to his game, almost to the point where he doesn't play physical enough to really make the NHL, and that's one of the big things holding him back. Still, it looks really bad, and while I don't think there was any malicious intent, you can't really prove that there wasn't, so understand the 10-game suspension. I will note here, because some Islander fans have been asking for Bridgeport call-ups, Adam Beckman can still be called up to the Islanders. The suspension does not stop the Islanders from calling him up, although I really doubt the Islanders are going to call anyone up to begin with, and if anyone's going to get called up, I definitely don't think Beckman is going to be the first one, at least after this. I think before this 10-game suspension, he probably would be the Islanders' first man to call up, but at this point, I don't think that's going to happen. You definitely won't want to reward this physical abuse of an official. Again, don't think it was completely, not complete. I don't think it was intentional, but it did happen, and you can't be shoving refs. So, and I definitely think, well, the way Lamoriello is, he's not going to call up Beckman. So even though the Islanders technically still can if they need to, don't expect that to happen. We're still going to talk about Adam Beckman's stats, though, as he has been a brighter spot on Bridgeport, which admittedly has not been really bright. The Bridgeport Islanders have been terrible, as we're going to quickly talk about right here. They've only won 15 games out of 67. They look completely abysmal. They've broken a record, as we talked about in a previous episode, for the most home losses ever in the AHL. This is a terrible hockey team. And for Islander fans who are hoping for a youth movement after the Islanders are clearly not in a rebuild phase quite yet, although if they don't handle this retool properly, they definitely can find themselves in a rebuild soon. But with a retooling team, you were hoping to see a bit of a youth movement this season, and there just does not seem to be any talent in Bridgeport. I'm going to go through some of the players in Bridgeport. I definitely think there is some potential here, and we're going to kind of talk about, again, on if this is a situation where Bridgeport is really ruining these young players, or are they just not good enough? Start with Adam Beckman. Adam Beckman has been pretty... I definitely liked the trade for Dennis Cholonsky. Dennis Cholonsky was a player the Islanders were never going to use again. Devils needed a defenseman, and they gave back a prospect in Adam Beckman, who, while does not have too much of a high ceiling, definitely still does have some NHL potential. I mean, he's played NHL games in 3 different seasons. Drafted by the Minnesota Wild, 75th overall. It's a player they really liked his speed, his game, but they just could not figure it out and like how it works in the NHL. As well, he spends a lot of time on the Iowa Wild in the AHL, and he had relatively good stats in the AHL, but he's never just been able to step up to the next level. And at this point so far, it still seems like he's unable to step up to the next level. This is the type of guy that you can likely expect to see in a lineup at any point if a couple guys get injured. So even now, say 2 Islanders get injured in their next game against the Rangers, then you can maybe see a guy like Beckman getting called up. So in terms of organizational depth, he definitely has some use. I just don't know if he can develop into more of a player. I don't think this is a Bridgeport problem. I just think that's who he is. This season, he played 43 games for the Utica Comets. He had 33 points. Again, solid numbers. Bridgeport, he has 7 points, and for Bridgeport, that is pretty good. And also, you're not seeing this huge fall off in points as he moved to Bridgeport. There has been a bit of fall off, but he's moving to a new team, a new system. And it's definitely a point I want to make as we talk about some of these other prospects. A lot of people blame, and rightfully so, blame Lou Lamoriello for not making Bridgeport better for these prospects. But I don't want to take all the blame away from the prospects themselves, because the prospects at Bridgeport have not been good. And we're not going to be talking about them in this episode because there's just so many players in Bridgeport. I think the defensemen have a lot more potential, and we've seen Bridgeport really be a defensive factory, providing the Islanders with extra guys when they need them with all these injuries. So in that sense, I actually think the team is pretty solid. But these forward prospects have been really disappointed. And sure, you can blame Lou Lamoriello for not drafting more or really developing them. But at the end of the day, I really think a lot of these prospects just don't have what it's, at least not yet. They're not playing well enough. And that's a big reason for why Bridgeport has lost all these games. The next prospect I want to talk about is Mathew Barzal. Mathew Barzal was a prospect that a lot of Islander fans were very excited about. Now he seems to completely vanish off everyone's radar. This is a prospect who was drafted in the 5th round in 2022, and he had a big season in 2022-2023 for the Windsor Spitfires, scoring 111 points, and that's when everyone really got excited for him as a prospect. This is definitely an impressive year for the OHL, but you also have to note when Mathew Barzal had this season, he was older than almost every single player he was playing against. Some of these players by 3 years or even 4 years on the extreme end. He was an overager, and as a result, same situation with William Dufour, where yeah, you put up a lot of points, but you're playing with guys that are smaller and weaker than you when you're fully physically developed. And we definitely saw a drop-off in that in his first AHL season. Now, he still had a pretty decent AHL season. Was pretty excited about him in 2023, 2024. This year, he's taken another step back, and I'm really curious for what that is. You know, a lot of people are just blaming Bridgeport for being this terrible development place. But yet, we keep on seeing players such as Gatcombe and McLean and Hudson Fasching really come out of Bridgeport and play well in the AHL. And those guys were also having much more solid seasons in Bridgeport, even though there weren't insane amounts of points. Their just well-rounded game was better. So clearly, coaches are doing a good job down there. These guys can step up and play for the Islanders right away. And guys like Mathew Barzal just have not shown it yet. I still think another year can do him good. As with the other process we're going to talk about, definitely is some potential here. But maybe this is not just an issue with Bridgeport as an organization. Maybe a big part is these prospects are just not playing as well as they should be. Because if Mathew Barzal has a step up from last season instead of regressing this far, then maybe we're not really talking about Bridgeport in the same light. Next prospect I definitely want to talk about is Alex Jeffries. Jeffries is a prospect when it comes to Islander fans calling for prospects to be called up. Jeffries is the number one name on the list. And frankly, if you watch some Bridgeport, now I don't watch every single game in Bridgeport, but I've watched like 3 or 4 games this season. Jeffries does not look ready. I think there are very encouraging signs in his game. And you got to note that after 2023 and 2024, where he had a good season in college and played his first season in Bridgeport, this is a prospect that is definitely trending in the right direction. He's had a really solid season considering that it was his first full year pro, putting up 27 points, really similar to that first year that Mathew Barzal had. Now, he is older than Mathew Barzal, but the big question with Jeffries is there going to be another step up in his game? Because right now, honestly, I just don't know where he would play for the Islanders. I know Islander fans really want to see him, but this is not a guy really playing a fourth line game and only putting up 27 points in the AHL. That does not scream top mid-six potential. So this is a player that he wants to make the NHL. I definitely think there is a chance, but he has to step up his game. And again, he's another player where maybe if he plays better this season, now it's more on players like Mathew Barzal, who were expected to take a step up the next season, than it is on a Jeffries playing his first pro season. But all these prospects, if they play better, and Dufour is no longer with the team, but when he was, if he plays better, because he also took a step back, I do think it's just partially on these prospects. And I think a big part of that is there was a lot of pressure put on these guys because they were the best guys in the Islander system, not because they were so good, but this is just not a deep Islander system, at least not yet. Finally, briefly want to mention Jacob Skarek. If we're going to see anybody from the AHL, I know Islander fans are not excited to see him again. It's likely going to be Skarek. We don't know how injured Ilya Sorokin is. The Islanders have practice tomorrow before the game. We will know more then. But if Ilya Sorokin is not healthy to go or sit on the bench as a backup, expect to see Skarek again. Skarek is a prospect as a goal, and you never know with goalie prospects. Sometimes it just takes them a while to get around. He is a big reason why the Bridgeport Islanders are struggling this season. 884, not good save percentage wise. And you could say, yeah, the team is bad, but if you look at his previous seasons, 888, 892, 896, it's just gotten worse and worse. Skarek is a goalie who I think when he was drafted 72nd overall in 2018, I felt like there was potential there, but he just has not put it together. Let me know in the comments what you think about all these prospects. Are there any prospects in Bridgeport that you would like to see on the Islanders this season? If so, let me know in the comments. As always, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. My name is Patrick Nilan. Let's go, Islanders.